Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Augusta Civic Center. I'm Travis Barrett alongside Drew Bonifant, and we just wrapped up the Class A North boys semifinals, and they delivered. I think we finally had a session here that delivered both games.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they go down the books as two upsets, but as we've been talking about, A North, how big an upset is it when you consider just how deep it's been and how these teams were evenly matched? I mean, Lawrence and Coney played twice during the season, played some close games, so this was another one. And
well, let's give scores. Let's give scores because I know nobody knows what happened. Let's see. Lawrence 63, Coney 56. That's number 4 Lawrence upsetting number 1 Coney. And in the first game tonight, number 7 Skowhegan 58, number 6 Brewer 46. Okay, so I did a little math. For the 4th time in 5 years, the number 1 seed in Class A North boys will not win the regional championship.
Wow. And just, I mean, maybe that whole theme of parity in that region is not just limited to this year.
Yeah, well, I think, too, this year. I mean, I know you hit on it, but Coney lost 4 games during the regular season. They, it's not a surprise that the number 1 seed lost. I'm surprised. I thought after getting by the other night that they were going to kind of roll. I am surprised that number 7, Skowhegan, is going to a regional championship game despite having won the fewest games of any team in the region this year during the season. They were 8-10 coming into the tournament.
Yeah, and the other thing that's just surprising about that is their coach Tom Netto was open after they won their first game against Hamden. He says, if we don't have Marcus Christopher, I don't think we win any games. So it feels like he's even calling them one person. I don't know if one person team is correct, but just to clue their team with one person that really kind of guides them and makes a difference at this point. And here they are, prevailing through a field of a lot of deep teams in there and a lot of good teams. So it's Skowhegan is definitely catching their stride at the right time.
They got lucky. They didn't get lucky. They got contributions, is what I meant to say, from several people not named Marcus Christopher.
Yeah.
I think the most noticeable is Carter Hunt. He had 17 points. He had 3 of his 5 3-pointers in the first half when Brewer was in some foul trouble. Their big scorer, Dylan Huff, was on the bench for the final 9.5 minutes of the first half with 2 fouls. He picked up his second foul early. It felt like Skowhegan probably could have gotten more out of that, but Hunt was a big part of why they made shots. And Christopher did what he did inside. He was a huge inside presence. But, I don't want to forget, like, Kyle Cruz, Chase Carey, even Batush Prokop there before he hit some foul trouble too. But those guys really provided an inside game that Brewer is a little bit undersized, and I think that paid off for Skowhegan tonight.
Yeah, well, you look back at that first game that they played when Brewer beat when they beat who was it the first round? Mount Blue. Yeah. Thank you.
It feels like 7 weeks ago.
I mean, that was a case where they weren't, banging down low, and when that way they were knocking down shots. So that can hide your size disadvantages when you're just raining shots in from all over the place. This time the shots weren't falling quite as much, and so they had to win down low, and Skowhegan was ready for that matchup.
Yeah, and that snaps a stretch of 5 straight wins for Brewer against Class A North competition. They lost 1 game down the stretch, but it was to Bangor, so we can kind of throw that one out for them. But against league teams, they got really hot. Of course, well documented. They made the tournament on the last night of the regular season, but they're out tonight because Skowhegan has 2 teams playing for a regional championship on Friday night. I imagine it'll be a very pro-Skowhegan crowd over on that side of the building on Friday night.
Yeah, and they come out from completely different ways, didn't they? One team is wearing the glass slipper through this whole thing, and the other one is has just been on a roll since the very first tip-off of the season. So interesting how 2 different approaches to a season can result in the same thing.
It says more about me than it does about the Skowhegan boys team, but it's funny. It's funny when you watch these games, right, and kind of the way the week goes. It's a true Cinderella run to go play in a regional final. I felt like 2 years ago when they lost to Messalonsky after beating number 1 Madomic in the courts. I felt like that was such a great Cinderella story. But, in hindsight, it was 1 win and 1 loss for them.
Right.
This is more impressive probably in some ways.
I think the thing that made that run 2 years ago feel so jarring that they were able to do it was that Madomic was undefeated, and there were some people who were wondering, is this the best team in the state, or is this a top 3, top 5 team in the state, regardless of class?
Yeah, fair.
And so for Skowhegan to come in and win that game, it felt like you were really beating a giant. Again, like we've said a million times, A-North had its really good teams, but you didn't have that one team that was head and shoulders above the crowd. So Skowhegan has been winning games that just seem that when you watch it play out, it feels like, if you had no idea of the records, you would think Skowhegan has been every bit as good as these teams this year.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, winning 2 games at this point as lower seed. I mean, that's, whether it's a balanced league or whether it's not, that's an impressive feat. You got to give them their credit.
Yep, in a balanced league where, again, to be fair, Skowhegan won 8 regular season games out of 18. Madomic, by contrast, was the 8 seed that had won 12 games. So I think there is a true Cinderella element here. Coney, I think for the first time in the tournament, granted it's only a 2-game sample, Lawrence beat Coney at its own game. I thought this was a game where Lawrence never looked like, oh my word, we are completely frazzled and out of sorts against what Coney likes to do.
They're ready to go against Coney's pace from the start, which, I mean, that's been how they won 14 games during the regular season. I would think at least half of them were just by from the start of the game, just overwhelming their opponent and just beating them down that way. And Lawrence was ready to go from that angle from the start. And you talk about beating them at their own game. Lawrence hit 7 first half 3-pointers. Coney had 4, and it's a mix of, while Lawrence was hitting those shots, and they seem to always hit those shots when they absolutely needed
them. Yeah.
When Coney was about to go on a run, they'd close from 5. They'd go from 4 points or 5 points down to taking the lead, and then you go, oh, here we go. Here's where we look up to 20 seconds later, and it's a 7-point game, and Lawrence, bang, they come right down, and Kobe Neto hits the 3, and we're right back to where we started. They always had an answer, and Coney never had that run that they had against Madomic, where they started the third just guns blazing on fire.
Yeah.
And that where you're knocking down 3 of your 4 threes or 4 of your 5 threes. They never had that run, and they needed it. Yeah. And if they get that run, maybe it's a different game, but they never got it, and now they're going home.
I think the fight analogies are overused in sports, by and large. But for every punch that Coney threw, Lawrence had the counter punch. I mean, they just had an answer for everything.
Yeah, there were maybe a couple points where you could look at it, when Lawrence was calling timeout, where you thought, okay, the momentum is starting to tick into Coney's favor, but it never felt like they were nudging ahead. They weren't leaping ahead. Yeah. And every time that they'd come back, Lawrence would, take a deep breath, stay composed, gather thoughts, and find that answer. And it was impressive. This is clearly a team that did not come in there thinking, oh my God, we're playing the 1 seed. They came in there thinking, we're playing a team that we could have beaten during the regular season, and if we play well, we'll beat this time. Well,
and Lawrence coach Jason Pellerin also said, part of that is they see them a lot. They play a couple times around the season, they play summer ball, they play in these tournaments. They know them, and I think that takes any time that you're the number 1 seed, and if you can come in with kind of an air of we don't know anything about you. I think that's a little bit different. Also, credit to Jason Pellerin for calling me out in my prediction that Lawrence would lose by 20. It really wasn't a reflection on Lawrence. I just felt like Coney looked like, after they kind of emerged the other night, that they were primed to just run away with this tournament. Maybe I just bought into the hype.
Well, TJ said after that game, you always have to win a game where you don't play your best. And I think what we all thought was, okay, that was Coney not playing a great game. Now they're going to come back here and they're going to play great games from here on out. In reality, what we probably saw was Coney played a game against a team that was evenly matched with them. Yeah. And then they played a game against a team that was evenly matched. If they won this game and they go play Skowhegan the next round, it's probably a game that looks like this one tonight. Yeah. I don't think no matter who Coney played, there was going to be a game where they got out and rolled away with the game and ended up winning by 15 points. I just don't think that was in the cards this time. And but there was a point in the game today where the teams went over 2 minutes without scoring, and it just felt like, and this was in the closing
middle of the fourth quarter.
Maybe middle of the fourth quarter. Yeah, and it just felt like whoever scores here, it's just going to feel like you may as well have made 3 baskets instead of 1. It's just going to feel like the game's really waiting to tip at this point, and guess who hits the three? Kobe Neto, right in the corner, turns a 1-point lead into a 4-point lead, and it just felt like, even though it's only 4 points, and you can get that back in a hurry, it just felt like that's not a play that happens if this is Coney's night.
Yep, I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So on the boys' side, 6 versus 7 in the regional final. On the girls' side, it's a 1 versus 2 matchup. Another region where we have a 1 versus 2 matchup in the final. Class D South boys earlier today. Forest Hills 72, Greenville 37. Frankly, it never felt that close.
Right.
Number 2 Temple 57. Number 3 Valley 52. Kind of an ugly game. Both teams, kind of just fought to find momentum and any kind of consistency offensively. But at the end of the game, Temple just they made more baskets, and I thought it was an interesting game to watch. In that, for a team that's never been in this stage, that has never won a tournament game here, Temple looked like the composed group down the stretch, and that was the difference.
It seems that team in that program has really made some strides from getting started a few years ago to playing on the carpet court to
yes.
everything to now here they are in the Civic Center. They're winning games. They're in the regional final, and I mean it's a long shot for them to beat Forest Hills in that game, but they're there, it really is. If you're a Temple coach, if you're a Temple player, you should be feeling like, we made some really big strides this season.
Yeah, and I think they do feel that way, actually, in talking to them afterwards. But you're right about Forest Hills. I do think that Forest Hills is unbeaten at 20-0 now. They have just cruised by a margin of victory that is, jaw-dropping all season long, and they've done it in this tournament. I think one other thing there that's kind of going for Forest Hills is this group coming into this year had never won a game here, and they're well aware of that. This is a program with some history. They've won 3 state championships, and they know what they're doing. But this particular group had been one and done here the last couple of years, and so I think they're focused in that sense. And it's easy, even though they've rolled this year, even though they've piled up points and they've blown everybody out, they are aware that, but until we do it here, it doesn't really matter. And I think that's kind of keeping them focused.
Yeah, they said they're not feeling the pressure of the 1 seed, and an undefeated record, and that's a way to get around that pressure, is to be looking at it like, what have we done?
Yeah.
What have we accomplished? What? So we won all regular season games? Who cares? Not at this point in the year.
Yeah.
But it's just, and they're so impressive to watch. What they're able to do with a school that size, the team that they get out there, they just play a million miles an hour. I looked at you at one point and I said, they make Coney look slow. And we've talked about Coney's pace. It's just, and the Greenville coach even said this, and it was a perfect way to describe it. He says, you miss a shot against them, you're giving up 2 points. Because it's coming right down the other way.
So many times they grab a rebound, the ball never hits the floor, it's a maximum of 2 passes, and it's a layup at the other end. Sometimes it's 1. But more often than not, it's an outlet pass, a long pass to a guy who's already filling a lane as soon as that rebound is grabbed, and it's a layup. And it happens more than it does not happen, and it's just brutal.
They got points in a dizzying rate at the start of the third quarter, and really, I mean, they're already comfortably ahead, but they just got even more comfortably ahead. But and you could be looking at that and thinking, well, if you're Greenville, why not just keep somebody back and just have somebody to play safety, almost. But again, the Greenville coach made a good point where he said it's not just that one guy. You do that. They're going to bring 2. They have 2 people going down there. It's not just Jacob Rivas; it's somebody else who's going down there with him. So you keep one guy back. They're passing the guy who's not guarding. They're still scoring. You keep 2 guys back. Well, now basically you're not playing offense when you get the ball across half court. So it's. I don't know how Temple's going to combat that, because they've certainly got that coming their way in the final.
Class B North, MCI boys, they were bounced today against Herman. It was close early at halftime, and then Herman just pulled away, which I think most people expected. It's a really good program. Mm-hmm. Class B North girls, Waterville, number 3 seed, they beat Herman 49-38. Amazing run for Waterville girls. They still have not lost a game this year. We were inches away, and inches from a Waterville-Winslow Battle of the Bridge regional final up there in Bangor. Top seeded MDI. Julia Watrous hits a three-pointer at the buzzer in regulation to tie the game, and then MDI just rides the momentum and outscores, holds Winslow to 1 point. They outscored them 7-1 in overtime and won 57-51. So the defending state champions in Class B are out, but that Waterville girls team just continues to, at least for me, defy odds a little bit. I've said all along, I thought they maybe were a year ahead of where they probably should be. I expected this next year when they were all a year older and seniors and all that. They just meet every challenge. Rob Rodriguez has them just, they have a belief in themselves that he's instilled that they are not letting go of.
And I just get the sense with that Waterville team that there are still some people out there who are just kind of waiting for them to lose and to say, you know, oh, we saw this coming, you know, kind of a light team. Maybe it's the fact that they're the third seed instead of the 1 seed, even though they had an undefeated regular season. But I just get the sense that this team is still proving people wrong with this run. And that's a good point about Winslow getting edged. It would have been the fourth matchup between those teams if they met. They know each other well, and it would have been a good one. But it's going to be a good one here. It's the 1 seed versus the undefeated team. Doesn't happen often, but that's what we got on tap.
So tomorrow we move to Class C South semifinals. Is that where we're at?
That's it.
Boys and girls. Just quickly, I think it's the boys. We have Halldale against Waynfleet. Am I correct on that? And Winthrop's playing.
It's Halldale versus Waynfleet, and it's going to be Winthrop versus Trape.
There you go. And I think I know we've talked about it the last couple nights, so we don't have to get into it too much. But I think for me, Halldale Waynfleet is a pick'em game. I could see either team winning that. I think they're both very, very good. I'd be shocked if Trape can in any way match the size and the athleticism that Winthrop's going to throw at them.
Yeah, I mean, Trape's going to come back. I have a feeling Trape won't even try. I bet you they won't be trying to commit to winning a post battle. They're just going to concede they're going to lose the rebound battle, and they're just going to try to get out and run. Kind of like we saw Forest Hills do, kind of like we saw what we've been seeing Coney do. I think they're going to just try to wear Winthrop out that way, because if they try to match up in the post, it's going to be a long night for them.
Yeah, I think when they do, if you do try to get into that full court game and play at a pace with them, again, I think Winthrop, they have such a size advantage everywhere. Their guards are huge, especially for a Class C team. I think it's going to be tough. Girls tomorrow, number 13 Madison still alive in a regional semifinal. They get top seeded and undefeated Boothbay, who struggled a little bit against St. Dom's in their quarterfinal. Winthrop playing North Yarmouth in a 2-3 matchup. I think Boothbay's probably the preemptive favorite there against Madison. As far as I can tell, I don't remember the last time a 13 seed has made it. I looked it up. I couldn't find it. I don't think in this tournament they've been that far. Winthrop North Yarmouth, I think, judging by what I saw from North Yarmouth against Monmouth and those scores, I think that's a pretty evenly matched game on paper.
Yeah, North Yarmouth is going to be a tough out because they have the players that were on the main girls academy team when that folded. They joined the NYA squad, so that's kind of a team that is playing better than their seed. Winthrop had a rough start against Old Orchard Beach, down 12-1 right out of the gate. Looks like maybe they're going to be run off the court as the 2 seed, and then they ended up I think they outscored them 49 to 29, something like that. It was they definitely had the better. They definitely commanded that game from that run on. So if Winthrop it kind of has the jitters worked out and is ready to start, is able to start fast, play their defense. They like to get a little aggressive there. They like to try to force turnovers and take it the other way. If they're able to play that way, they can run with NYA. But I think the odds would favor NYA to have the better of that matchup.
Another game we're looking at tomorrow, I think it's our only other one that we're paying particularly close attention to. Cape Elizabeth against Maranacook, Class B South. That's a 6 p.m. start tomorrow night. Maranacook's a 2 seed, Cape's a 3 seed. I think Maranacook is playing with house money down there? Question mark?
It might feel that way, especially because I think the understanding is teams that aren't, those teams from up north that come down. I say up north, it's the B South region, but the northern southern teams that play there are kind of always considered the underdogs in those brackets. It's a matchup of Cape Elizabeth has Mr. Maine basketball semifinalist in Andrew Hartel, and Maranacook is your classic depth team. I mean, they have.
Yeah, they are.
I think that we've said this before. I think they have a guy who would be in that. Oh, he wouldn't be a Mr. Maine semifinals because he's only a sophomore, but a player who's of that ilk in Cash McClure. But they're poised to still remain afloat if he has a tough game. But Cape's going to be a test. That could go either way, and that's a big. If America is able to get that and go to the regional final, that's a big win.
All right. Final thoughts from the Augusta Civic Center tonight on anything you saw today that we have not talked about already.
I mean, I'll just emphasize, kind of go over and emphasize the point that we made about Skowhegan looking deeper than we thought, or at least I thought they were coming in. I thought that was a team that they benefited from getting a Hamden team that may have been a little out of whack with some of the roster changes, and that they were going to kind of see reality today. And they're still live, they're still kicking. They look good. They look like they were pulling away at the end of that game, and maybe if the game was a little longer, they may have won by more. So that's my takeaway, is that Skowhegan is a team where we always talk about fill the records out, but you really have to fill the record out with this team. They're playing at a very high level compared to where they were during the regular season.
All right, you took one from my game, so I'll take one from the game that you covered. I think that one of the things that is fascinating about the tournament, and there's always a team or two every year that you can point to, where you look at the regular season and you go, yeah, okay, I see this or I see that. I don't think you get a lot of emotional nights during the regular season. I think you get some nights where the gyms are packed and you get rivalry schools. There's something about the tournament and teams that have a certain belief in themselves and what they can do. And I think Lawrence is that team this year, where they just look like a team that believes we're going to win.
They look like they think that, and they look like they have a bunch of people on that team who think, give me the ball and I'll make it happen. It's not, all right, let's clear the room out. Let's clear the way for this guy to kind of take over. It was Kobe Neto today, but I've seen Nick Robinson play that role. I've seen
Nick did the other night.
Yeah,
Nick was unbelievable.
Exactly. Gavin Heron had times where he was the one who you're like, geez, they have no answer for him.
Yeah.
I mean, Cody's got some size down low with Ian Bowers and everything. Gavin was constantly winning races to rebounds and everything, and that's a team that is clearly playing with a lot of confidence. If they were an underdog of sorts in this bracket, they certainly didn't get that memo.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
And they're playing well. They've got some real clutch players in that team, and it's interesting to. It's going to be interesting to see them play Skowhegan, because it's two teams that to this point have been very good at handling the stage and having a flair for the big moment.
Yeah, I like that too. And I think when you are in our position, I don't speak for you, but for me, I don't have a rooting interest. My kid's not playing for one of the schools. I didn't go to one of the schools. I'm not from one of the towns. To me, I think that's what makes it. That's what I always remember from the tournament, whether it was that Messalonski team a couple of years ago and the way that group just came together when it mattered, and went and played for a state championship, or whether it's a team like Lawrence and Skowhegan a little bit here. That's what you're going to take away, man. They believe in themselves, and I think it's a really fun thing to watch, because it feels like forever to us, but the tournament is really only an 8 or 9 day stretch. And, people grow up right in front of you,
and you go from highs to lows in a matter of just
seconds.
Possessions. It really is. I mean, it just felt like a couple of days ago, Coney has the win of the season, and the win for what for a lot of those players probably going to be the best win they ever had at high school.
Yep.
2 days later, 3 days later, whatever it is, their season's over, and they're walking off the court with tears in their eyes. It changes like that, and. I mean, if there are any rooting interests, you like to see those teams come out and play well.
Yeah.
You don't want to see a team that has had a good season, a senior-laden team, come out and just lay an egg. That's because these are kids, and it's not like they just
you're getting soft.
Yeah, but no, but that's kind of to your point about the Messalonski team and everything before. It's I don't think we saw it from those teams today. I think we saw all those teams. Make a run at it, and some are moving on, and some are going home.
I think tomorrow we're going to make some more memories, so we should get out of here and rest up and do it again tomorrow, Class C. Thanks for doing it. thanks everybody for listening. We know you are. We appreciate it. Even if I have to eat some crow once in a while from a head coach, we appreciate you listening. And as always, centralmaine.com. We have all of the scores. We have all of the coverage. Check out our Facebook page, Central Maine Sports, and find us on Twitter. And stay afloat with the tournament. And we will be back again on Thursday, and we will do it all again. Thanks for listening.